Hi, everybody. Welcome. We are here with Dr. Sheila-Marie McAdoo, and we're going to be learning about supplements and how to use supplements from an intuitive perspective. And my
Mhm.
name is Sheila Sattar, and I'm the founder of Integrative Wellness Leaders, which is a collective of health and wellness leaders who promote, support, uh, encourage, and really mentor each other, especially during this coronavirus quarantine time. We're a collective of healers that have come together in order to promote our businesses and support our businesses so that we can still thrive even though things are pretty crazy. And I'm also the founder of Always Play Studios, which is based in Los Angeles. It's a mobile wellness studio where we do sound baths, breathwork, energy healing, and mentorship for health and wellness leaders. And today we have Dr. Sheila-Marie McAdoo, and she is a community and medication therapy management pharmacist. And she earned her doctorate in pharmacy from UNC-Chapel Hill. And she's the daughter of two nurses and has always had a deep-seated passion for serving her community and enabling patients to improve their health. Her mission is to improve patients about intuitive self-care, show them how to lead healthier lifestyles, and we're all here for it. I'll let you take it away. I'm going to get off camera and you do your thing.
Thank you so much for the intro, Shanila. So, hi everyone and welcome. I am Dr. Sheila-Marie McAdoo. So I'll start with just a little bit about myself. I am a community pharmacist. I'm actually based in Washington, D.C. So I'm over on the East Coast. It's 9 p.m. over here, so pretty dark. I'm originally from North Carolina, and I am the host of the Over the Counter podcast. That's my podcast where I speak to other health professionals about wellness, available and alternative treatments, supplements, insurance, and so much more. And like Shanila said, my mission is to really help people through the healthcare experience because it's gotten so complicated now. I'm really trying to break it down and make it more digestible for everyone. I am Ghanaian, and both my parents are nurses, like Shanila said. So I grew up in a very cool hybrid of both Western and traditional African medicine and nutrition, and that mostly contains spices, peppers, roots, black soap, shea, cacao, you name it. So anyways, today I am going to be talking about the power of your intuition when it comes to supplementation. I wish that the human body was 100% self-sufficient and can make what it needs to be healthy, but unfortunately, we can't. But before we get into the intuition aspect, let's kind of start from the ground basics and work our way up. So, what is a supplement? So, it's in the name. A dietary supplement is anything that supplements the diet. It can contain one or more dietary ingredients. It's important to note that it has to be something that is present in the food supply already, and it has to be taken by mouth. So these supplements are considered a food, and they're extracted from food. And we're going to come back to that actually, and how that affects the regulations around it. A supplement must be swallowed. So anything that's a capsule, a tablet, tincture, or elixir counts. It cannot be a cream, IV patch, eye drop, anything like that. And again, it's ones that are intended to be taken by mouth. The class of supplements, as you've probably seen at your health food stores, it contains vitamins, minerals, fiber, fatty acids, and amino acids. So let's kind of move into why someone such as yourself may need a dietary supplement. I'll start with this. Like I said before, a supplement is anything that supplements the diet. So you really should be looking at your food first. Look into what your diet looks like, if you're getting a good variety of the main food groups, what your serving sizes are. I like to coach people to refrain from taking supplements just for overall health and wellness. My goal is for you to be able to pinpoint exactly what you need. And that's mostly because actually too much of something can be harmful. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later too. A supplement is intended to fill the nutrient gaps in your diet, not the other way around. And so in my practice, I do run into that issue a lot. You've probably seen like stock photos of plates with pills and they say my breakfast or my dinner or whatever, but supplements are not intended to replace a healthy diet. Contrary to what most people think pharmacists do, we actually don't like patients being on tons of medications and supplements because it raises the risk of adverse effects, and that in turn harms the healthcare system and raises the prices of healthcare. One of the reasons why our healthcare industry in the United States is so expensive and why we have higher rates of mortality compared to other countries around drugs is because we replace healthy, nutritious meals with pills. We kind of like to say, let's eat horribly and then take a pill to reverse the effects of what I ate. I can't tell you how many times I've had patients that say, you know, I'll eat this donut or this pastry and I'll just up my dose of insulin to reverse it. So now we're gravitating more towards this movement of how do we take you off of all these medications with lifestyle changes and consolidate what you're really taking. So basically, if you don't need pills, don't take pills. So that's a little bit of my soapbox. But anyways, let's kind of go back and look into the 4 core reasons why you may need a supplement. So the first one is if you're eating some sort of restricted diet. So with some of the new diets like veganism or pescatarianism, certain nutrients are going to get cut out because you're missing certain food groups. So supplements may be a good way to replace what you're missing without breaking those restrictions. And a lot of the websites for these diets, they'll let you know which ones are getting cut out, and they usually have a pretty good list of what you need to take to replace those. The second reason could be because you're getting older. So naturally, as you get older, your body gets less nutrients. Our absorption, metabolism, and excretion, that slows down with age. For example, the amount of stomach acid that we make actually decreases the older we get. So stomach acid is needed to break down the food into those nutrients that we can absorb. And so when we get older, we feel fuller quicker, and we also have a decreased appetite because the food is sitting in our stomach and it takes a lot longer to be broken down by stomach acid because there's not a lot of it. The third reason could be because of any stomach or bowel surgery. So when you get surgery, sometimes you're left with less surface area for the nutrients to absorb in. So think of your GI tract kind of like a gateway to your organs. If you get rid of some of those gates or that surface area, you will have less nutrients. Some people take supplements because it's a more concentrated form of that food, and you don't need to worry about the other excipients from that food taking up surface area, like the skin of a fruit or something like that. And the fourth reason could be because of certain health conditions. For example, if you have darker skin, such as me, you don't absorb vitamin D as well because the melanin is blocking the UV radiation, and you need those UV rays to make vitamin D. And so I take vitamin D as a supplement because of that. Or if you have celiac disease, you don't absorb nutrients well at all. And that's because of the damage in the lining of your intestinal wall. So for those people, they have to take more extra precaution in what they eat because they don't want to further damage that lining. And in those cases, there are a list of supplements that are warranted because nothing is getting properly absorbed, like I said. This is a case where you wouldn't be using your intuition exactly because it's something that is diagnosed because there's so many issues going on at once. It would be really hard for you to pinpoint what you're missing. But today we are going to be discussing how you would use your intuition if you don't have any kind of diagnosed conditions already. So a lot of what I'm going to be talking about today is cravings because like I said before, supplements are tied to a food source. It's so important to listen to your body because these cravings are usually due to some sort of imbalance in your body and organs. And once you tackle what your body is trying to signal to you, you should feel better. So the human body is very crazy in the way that it learns things, and we don't even register that it's doing that. It's independent of our day-to-day thoughts. So I'll break it down a little bit. You eat something, your body breaks it apart, kind of like a pirate going through a treasure chest, and it takes what it can use. From then, it's going to imprint those nutrients that come from that food into your brain. Some people call that the second brain for the bowels because it operates independently of the real brain. It's crazy. There are a lot of studies going into researching this because we don't fully understand it yet. And also the microbiome in your body also probably plays a role. You may not realize it, but about 4 to 5 pounds of your weight is just your microbiome. 4 to 5 pounds, guys. So I'm talking the bacteria, the fungi, the protozoa, and there are even some viruses that just live in your body and have a symbiotic relationship with you. But I'm not talking about the coronavirus that's going on right now. So we feed those bacteria and fungi and protozoa, and they in turn help us out. They haven't confirmed exactly how the microbiome is doing that yet, but I'm pretty sure it does have some kind of say in the second brain. I imagine it kind of being like a factory in there, like one of the bacteria yells, "We're low on omega-3s," and then it just gets passed up the chain of command. So they all kind of cast their votes on what they need to digest, and that sends a signal as a craving. There's growing evidence on this, so I'm really interested to see where that goes. There is a company called Seed that has really piqued my interest in this. If you want to check them out, their website is seed.com, like a plant seed. I find it really interesting if that's something that you want to look at. But anyways, going off my science tangent. So when you're craving a certain food like beef, it probably means that you want iron. So I'm going to tell you guys a little story about myself. So we actually stopped eating less meat in our household 2 years ago. And when we stopped eating that meat, I became like ravenous. Like I was cuckoo crazy. After we stopped eating it, it's all I ever wanted. You know, I was like sneaking around buying burgers and prosciutto and steaks. And on top of that, all I wanted was orange juice. Weird combo, right? Maybe not. So I was buying like a jug of orange juice every 2 days, which is not good for you, by the way. There can be tons of sugar in there. And it turned out I had anemia due to an iron deficiency. And lo and behold, vitamin C helps iron to absorb in the body. And when I went to my next doctor's visit, my primary care doctor was like, "Oh yeah, you're definitely anemic and the labs prove it." And I was mad at myself because I wasn't listening to my body. I was just buying things to curb the cravings, which wasn't healthy because I was dumping more sugar into my bloodstream. There is a root problem I needed to solve, and I was just curbing the cravings instead of actually tackling that and using my intuition. So that's just one of the examples of a craving you can have. So wanting some kind of meat may mean that you have an iron deficiency. And so let's go through some of the other cravings that we tend to ignore. We indulge in this stuff because we don't realize what's at the core of it. The goal for you here today is to be able to know when you're having a craving, then be able to dig deeper into it. It's really all about self-reliance. Only you will know how you feel. So hopefully this will help you all to recognize the craving, then make a better choice for your body. Don't be drinking 2 jugs of orange juice every 2 days like I did. And so let's go and start with my favorite, which is chocolate. I love chocolate and it tastes fantastic. But a big reason why we crave chocolate sometimes is because we have low magnesium. So other foods such as leafy greens, flax seeds, and pumpkin seeds, they all have high magnesium content as well, but we crave chocolate the most out of these because of the sweetness and because it improves our mood. So just recognize that with chocolate comes the sugar, like I talked about earlier. Sometimes you need to make the better choice. I'll tell you guys what, I was obsessed with chocolate when I was younger, which led to a lot of cavities because of the sugar. I would go to my neighbors' houses when I was a kid, and I would ask for chocolate because it made me feel good. And little did I know, I probably had a magnesium problem back then too, because I was also sleeping a ton. So I would get like 8 hours of sleep, and then I'd take naps during the day. And I continued through this routine even through undergrad. I thought it was normal. I thought everyone was taking naps after school. And guess what? Magnesium also plays a role in sleep. It helps a neurotransmitter called GABA to facilitate sleep. But now I supplement magnesium. I blend flax seeds in my breakfast smoothies, and I have a magnesium supplement that I take daily. I'm not starved for chocolate anymore because I've replaced what I was craving it for, and I do sleep better, and I only really take naps if I had a very harsh work day. And so the dosing usually for magnesium is 250 to 500 milligrams of magnesium per day. But the best way that you can know if you have low mag is if you get a blood test from your doctor. But if you're feeling these things, like you're craving chocolate and you're tired, use your intuition because you probably have low mag. All right, so we'll move on to the next one, which is dairy. This is probably one that you guys have craved before. You've probably craved cheese and milk. The core reason why you're craving these all the time may be because you're missing out on calcium. Milk is fine, but cheese can be really high in saturated fats and calories. If you're craving cheese consistently, you may want to look into taking a calcium supplement with vitamin D. Vitamin D will help it to absorb. If you're also feeling like your bones are a little creaky or you can't put as much weight on them, that could also be a sign of calcium deficiency. So that along with the cravings. It's also important to note that your bowels can only absorb so much calcium at one time. So you could be consistently eating all this milk and cheese and any kind of dairy products, but your body isn't actually absorbing it consistently. You can only get about 500 milligrams of calcium at one time. So I mostly coach my patients to take about 1,500 milligrams of calcium per day. So you can do 500 milligrams in the morning, 500 milligrams at lunch, and 500 milligrams in the evening. And that 500 milligrams can come in the form of drinking an 8-ounce glass of milk or fortified orange juice, or you can take a 500 milligram tablet of calcium if you don't want either of those, because milk also turns into carbohydrates as well. And then for the vitamin D portion, I usually recommend 2,000 units of vitamin D because calcium needs vitamin D to absorb into your bones. And so the next craving that we're going to talk about is sugar. So just general sugar. So craving sugar can be a sign of multiple things. So for this craving, I would suggest actually seeing a specialist for it if you're having an ongoing issue with it, because it could be a problem with your insulin, with your energy levels, or with your hydration. So I would look at those first. If you're eating full meals, your body usually wants to get more sugar because it's not able to break down and use what it currently has to produce energy. So that's why you're craving more sugar. One of the ways to combat this is with the vitamin B complex supplements, which contains B1, B2, B3, B6, B7, B12. It's a complex, so it has a lot of them in one tablet. And you may recognize these more by their trade names, which are biotin, folate, thiamine, niacin. You may recognize those names more. And so vitamin B helps to metabolize the food you're eating into energy. So that can be really important to note if you feel like you don't have enough energy. Vitamin B can come from meats, poultry, seafood, seeds, fruits, and dark leafy vegetables. So back to what I said earlier, you should be focusing on food first. Vitamin B is found in so many foods. So if you have a balanced diet, you really shouldn't need these. But again, you want to see why you're having those sugar cravings, because there could be something more behind it. The next craving that we're going to talk about is fatty foods. So we crave fatty foods because we want fatty amino acids. But again, not all foods in this category are going to be good for you. So what we crave are these saturated fats like butter and lard, processed meats, and fried foods. But what we need more of are the unsaturated kinds that aren't going to get stuck on our bloodstream and cause a stroke later on down the line. So the supplement you would take for this craving is omega-3. Omega-3 is most commonly found in fish and seeds, more specifically chia seeds, flax seeds, and walnuts. I love omega-3 because it gets distributed to so many places in your body. It goes to your brain, it goes to your eyes, it goes to your joints and your heart. So all of your cells have a lipid layer or a fatty layer. And so supplementing with omega-3 can help if you're having any kind of issues with organs, because it will help those cells to rebuild. And so let's talk about the common supplement people think of when they think of omega-3, which is fish oil. So my mom used to make me take fish oil to boost my good cholesterol, and I hated this because it gives you fishy burps. But I want to tell y'all, you got other options. Your future is bright. I do want to plug one brand that I take called Barleans. So they reformulated omega-3 and they put it into this creamy liquid formulation called Seriously Delicious, and it's seriously delicious. They have mango peach, key lime pie, lemon cream, chocolate mint. Like, this stuff is a bomb. I have no complaints. And so you should really look into that brand if you really don't like taking the big capsule forms, because most of the omega-3s come in this like really chunky capsule. And I'll show you guys the omega-3. I have it right here that I take. I don't know if you guys can see this very well. It's Barleans, and it's delicious. All right, and then let's move on to the last one, which is salt. So salt it's a weird one, because when you're craving salty things like chips or pretzels or anything savory like that, it doesn't necessarily mean your body needs salt. So this is where you really got to use your intuition, because you just have to recognize that you're having the salt craving specifically, and then go from there. And so the major organ that is at play here is your kidneys. So usually when you're having a salt craving, you actually have an electrolyte imbalance, or you're dehydrated. Many people don't realize that sodium is an electrolyte, so sodium chloride. And so to replenish these electrolytes, I like drinking coconut water. I actually have some right here with me. I have this big thing everywhere I go. And then a sports drink could also be good. But for those, you should watch the sugar. It's better than having a really salty meal, because when you're having that salt craving and you have a lot of salt, it's just going to raise your blood pressure and not really treat the problem. And so I usually recommend that you get at least 3.5 liters of some kind of water with electrolytes for men, and then for women, 2.5 liters. So hopefully that was informative for you guys. There's plenty more cravings that we have, but I just wanted to cover a few of the major ones today. I also wanted to mention that you should be charting how you feel, and then speaking to a dietitian or doctor of integrative and functional medicine, because they deal a lot with supplementation. The reason being, I want you to be safe when you're taking these supplements, because at high doses, I told you I was going to come back to this, supplements can be dangerous. So I've had people come up to me and say they've been taking a supplement for X amount of days, but they're actually taking more than what's on the directions of the bottle because they wanted it to work quicker. But that can be dangerous because you can overload your organs that way. And so charting would be a really good way to keep track of what you're taking and making sure that you're doing the right dosage. So for example, if you're taking really high amounts of vitamin C, that can actually get backed up into your kidneys because your kidney can't clear it fast enough. Another thing I wanted to mention was that you should do your research and pick reputable brands when you do realize that you need to supplement with something, and also know how to take them, because knowing how to take them will affect how much is actually getting into your system. So some supplements are water soluble, meaning they absorb better on water. And then some supplements are fat soluble, meaning they absorb better in fats, so you should take them with food. So the fat soluble ones, for example, would be vitamin D, vitamin A, vitamin E, and K. Those are all fat soluble. So you should be eating a fatty meal or drinking whole milk with these so that they actually absorb. And then in regards to supplement brands, I wanted you to know something. They are not regulated. So there is a law that passed in '94 that states that there's no regulation or required consistency when supplements are entering the market, because they're considered a food. Because remember, supplements are supposed to supplement the diet as a food source. So the only way that they can be removed from market is if consumers complain to the FDA. So I just urge you all to do your research before you buy a new supplement. Don't buy any brands that make specific claims towards a function, because technically they're legally not allowed to do that. They must have a disclaimer. So a brand can say that they're going to cure your fatigue. They can just suggest how it's going to work. And also, our society is kind of trending towards the verbiage of natural means safe to get people to buy things. So just because something's natural doesn't mean it's safe and effective. So I want you to think about it this way. If you're on a walk and you're stumbling upon some berries, they're either A, going to provide you with nutrients so you can continue on your trail, or B, they're going to poison you and you'll never finish walking the trail. So in either scenario, these berries are natural, but you need to do your research with what works with your body and what's safe. I personally research the products that I buy before I get them. There's a few places that I like to check. There are companies that do independent third-party testing, and they confirm that the actual contents of the supplement match what's on the label. They can also check for stuff that isn't listed, and that good manufacturing practices were followed. So the main places that I check are consumerlab.com, the United States Pharmacopoeia, which is actually based about 20 minutes from where I live. I like them because I've visited their facilities and I know they're legit. And actually I have a bottle here that I can show you. So here's Nature's Made. So every time that you see this little label that says USP, That means that it was third-party tested, and what's in there is in there. And then the last place that I like to check is NSF, which is the National Sanitation Foundation. And they also do third-party testing for all supplements. And so I think it was around 2013 or 2014, there was this whole scandal because there is this company that third-party tested supplements, like they just pulled random ones off the shelf. And they found that what the company said should be in there was not actually in there or had something completely different. And I know because of that, some health food stores such as GNC, they now have all their stuff third-party tested. But just be sure to research, and you can go to these websites and type in the product name just to check and make sure that they were tested. And so hopefully all that information was helpful for you guys. That's about the end of my segment. If you have any more questions about supplements, feel free to message me on my website at otcpodcast.com, or you can direct message me on Instagram at otcvpodcast. Like today, I even got a message about apple cider vinegar gummies. And so I'm always here to respond.
So there's a few questions in the chat.
Yeah, I'm popping in now.
Someone asked, so I think you maybe have already answered this. If you crave sweets, period, is that due to low magnesium? I'm always craving sweets, cookies, brownies, icing.
Yeah, so that could be, so actually that can be due to a couple things. So that could be either your insulin levels are low, so the sugar is not actually getting broken down. So for that, actually, they're doing some studies into a supplement called chromium, which actually helps insulin to break down the carbohydrates so that your body can actually use that. So I would look into chromium as a supplement for that.
And also during periods too, when you have those cravings, is that from low magnesium?
So that can actually be because of low iron. So that's because your red blood cells are at a lower level. And so you generally just want to eat more because you want to have more amino acids to be able to turn that into red blood cells. So that's more of a low iron issue. And I see someone else likes Barleans.
And someone asked, can you please repeat the second website you mentioned? Actually, somebody asking for the second and the third websites you mentioned.
Oh, the places that I check to make sure that the supplements are good. I will say them over for you again. So the first one is consumerlab.com. The second one is the United States Pharmacopoeia. I believe there's USP. If you type in USP to Google, it should be the first one. So it's www.usp.org.
Great. Someone
And
asked,
then NSF is www.nsf.gov. They keep it simple.
that's nice. So Ryan asked, are ACV gummies legit?
So I was doing a little bit of research into that. I personally wouldn't go for the gummies because the whole thing with the apple cider vinegar is because of the vinegar content. So it's supposed to help the microbiome in your gut to break down more fats. So that's why a lot of people take it, is because it breaks down fat because they use it as like a weight loss kind of thing. So I don't really know why you wouldn't want to use the vinegar formulation, because once it turns into gummy, you lose that, kind of like that fermentation process from the vinegar. Yeah, and most people don't like drinking it because it doesn't taste great.
Ryan says, I just can't stand the smell, let alone the taste of actual apple cider vinegar.
Mm-hmm.
And if anybody has any questions, feel free to drop it in the chat. We'll have a little bit of time to answer your specific questions too.
Yeah.
Okay, then Sahar asked, this is a funny question, but if you crave soil, what is that due to?
Oh, so soil, that's a good question. So soil, I believe that would actually go into the pica category. So that's usually due to low iron and low zinc. So those are the two supplements I would look into for that. I believe, I'm not sure, I don't think Vitron C has mag, but maybe one of the emergency packet formulations has a combo of those. So I would maybe try that.
And how are you able to know if you have too many supplements?
So too many supplements. So first I would try to get lab work done to see what your actual issues are. So I go to the doctor at least once a year just to get lab work to see where I'm at, and to actually make sure that my supplements are working. So when I went this past February, I had my iron levels checked. She said, yeah, keep doing what you're doing with the Vitron C because it seems to be helping. As well as vitamin D. I've been taking vitamin D for a while as well. So my big thing is just make sure you're not taking it for a long time because remember I said food first. So you want to just try to be able to take that supplement out of your diet by having like actual food.
True. Someone asks, is every craving due to a mineral deficiency or can there also be an emotional component?
Yeah, so sometimes there is an emotional component. So for chocolate has an emotional component because that also affects GABA. The neurotransmitter that I told you about for sleep also has a function in mood as well. And so chocolate, one of the components of chocolate, I'm not sure which one, actually affects that as well. So it could be emotional, definitely.
And is there a supplement that helps with too much acid in the stomach? Something that works like pepsid, but something natural.
Something natural. So any kind of supplement that contains calcium would help with that. I would go for the calcium carbonate. So actually Tums would be something that helps with that, which is close to natural as you'll get, because that will help to actually coat the stomach and to combat the stomach acid.
Cool. So then Ryan asks, are multivitamins useful or are we better off taking the supplements we need?
Yeah, so the studies have kind of been going back and forth with multivitamins. Most of them have said that there's no real benefit to taking a multivitamin because most of the stuff in there that you take, you're just gonna pee out or excrete because your body doesn't need it. So personally, I don't take a multivitamin because I just want to take exactly what my body needs so that I'm not overloading my system. Because you just want to make sure, like I use the example of vitamin C. If you're eating a lot of fruits that contain vitamin C, you don't really need that other component.
Cool. And then this is my mom. She's in here. She
Oh
asked,
yeah.
hi, mommy. My mom asked, people are also talking about taking essential oils as supplements. What do you think about that?
So I love essential oils. I have a ton of them. I don't take them as supplements. I use them in my diffuser, but I do think that there is something to it. I don't think they've done enough studies on it. I'm interested to see and where that goes because a lot of the essential oils come from natural sources like herbs and some of the citrics, which are my favorite. And so I think that there's something to it, but I want to see more research done on it to see how it exactly works.
Perfect. So if anybody else has any questions, feel free to drop it into the chat. And I'm going to drop Sheila Marie's different information in the chat so that you'll be able to keep up with her. You'll be able to contact her, get a consultation with her. You can listen to a podcast, over the counter podcast, and there's a link to that as well. So here's all of this.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope that was helpful for all you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Thank you for being here. And we have lots of different free virtual events going on for the next couple of months, actually. Not just my group, but another group is going to be helping host a bunch of classes, workshops, panels, discussions from wellness leaders from all over the world, actually. So if you go to www.wellset.co/events, you'll be able to find a ton of different offerings from experts from all over the wellness spectrum. And if you are somebody who is in the wellness industry, health and wellness, and you want to give a workshop, definitely contact me. I'm best reached at Instagram at shanila.sattar. I'm going to leave my information up here as well. And Ryan says, thank you. My mommy says, thank you. And people say it was so helpful. Thank you for doing this workshop. Everybody
Thank
loves
you. Thank you guys. Have a good rest of your night.
And we will have this recording available at some point. I shall get it to you, and take care, everybody.
Night.